Hey everyone, and welcome. We're about to tackle a topic that, let's be honest, is usually wrapped up in a lot of fear: radiation. You hear that word and your mind probably jumps to sci-fi movies or big industrial disasters. But what if I told you that the single biggest source of radiation in your life, well, it's all around you. It's even inside you. So let's get into it and uncover this hidden world of everyday radiation.
To kick things off, just a simple question for you. What do you think gives you a bigger dose of radiation? We're going to compare two things in just a second, and I have a feeling the answer is going to change how you see the world around you. All right, here's our matchup. On one side, we've got a 7-hour flight, soaring miles above the Earth. And on the other side, a banana. Yep, just a regular, healthy banana. I know, it sounds like a totally bizarre comparison, right? Lock in your guess, though, because we are going to figure this puzzle out together.
First things first, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. For most of us, our whole idea of radiation has been shaped by things like Chernobyl, Cold War nuclear tests, or even just getting an X-ray at the doctor's office. We've kind of been taught to see it as this unnatural, man-made danger that we need to stay away from. But is that really the whole story?
Not even close. Look at this. This chart just completely flips that whole myth on its head. A staggering 85%, 85 of the average person's yearly radiation dose comes from sources that are completely natural. All that artificial stuff we tend to worry about, that's just a little 15% slice of the pie. Wild, right? Okay, so if most of our radiation exposure is totally natural, then where is it all coming from? Let's break down that huge 85% chunk. It really boils down to three main categories. You've got cosmic radiation, which is literally beaming down on us from space. Then there's terrestrial radiation, which is seeping up from the ground right under our feet. And finally, there are internal emitters. These are radioactive bits and pieces that we actually eat and drink in our food and water every single day.
So let's start with the stuff from space, cosmic radiation. Think of our atmosphere as this giant protective shield. But when you hop on an airplane, you fly way up, past a big chunk of that shield. And you can see the difference right here. Down at sea level, the dose is tiny. But get up to 35,000 feet and bam, it can be more than 150 times higher.
And to put that in perspective for you, just one flight across the Atlantic gives you a dose of about 40 to 80 microsieverts. That's the unit we're using for a bit. That's the same amount of radiation you'd get just living your life on the ground for several days straight. It's actually so significant that frequent flyers and pilots are sometimes officially classified as being occupationally exposed to radiation. So that covers the radiation coming from above. Now, what about what's coming from below? Well, meet radon. It's this radioactive gas you can't see or smell, and it comes from the natural breakdown of uranium in rocks and soil. And this invisible gas is, by long shot, the single biggest natural source of radiation we all face.
How big are we talking? Well, on average, we get about 1.2 millisieverts a year from radon. And a millisievert is 1,000 of those microsieverts we were just talking about. This one source, radon, makes up almost half of our entire yearly dose from all natural sources combined. It can seep into our homes from the ground, which is why getting your home tested for it is a really good idea in some places.
All right, now for the one that might just blow your mind. The most surprising source is you, your own body. See, you need potassium to live. It's what helps your nerves fire and your muscles work. But a tiny, tiny fraction of all the potassium on Earth, including the potassium inside you, is a radioactive version called potassium-40. What that means is, right now, inside your body, there are about 4,400 little radioactive events happening every single second, just from that potassium-40. So yeah, just by being alive, you are slightly radioactive. It's a completely normal, totally unavoidable part of being a living thing. Okay, that's a lot to take in. We've got radiation from space, from the ground, even from ourselves. With all these different numbers and units flying around, how in the world are we supposed to make sense of it all? Well, we need a simple tool. And for that, I want to introduce you to the banana equivalent scale.
Remember that banana from the beginning? Since bananas are packed with potassium, they have a teeny tiny amount of that radioactive potassium-40. So some clever scientists created this informal unit called the banana equivalent dose, or BED. One BED is just that minuscule dose you get from eating one banana. And now we can use it like a ruler to measure everything else. And this is where it all clicks into place. This gives us a real sense of scale. Eating one banana is our baseline, 1 BED. Getting a chest x-ray, that's about the same as eating 100 bananas. And that transatlantic flight we talked about, a whopping 400 to 800 banana equivalent doses. Now compare that to the 25,000 BEDs you get every year just by living on planet Earth. It makes it really clear that the dose from a banana is completely trivial, but the dose from flying is absolutely real and measurable.
So, why go through all this? Why is it so important to see radiation this way? Well, it's all about moving away from this place of just being scared of a word and toward a place of actually understanding what it means. When you understand the scale, it helps get rid of that vague radiophobia. It helps us make smarter rules to protect people, like airline crews who get a higher dose. And maybe most importantly, it lets all of us have more rational, grown-up conversations about risks and benefits, whether we're talking about new medical procedures or the future of clean energy. And I think this quote from our source material just says it perfectly. It's about reframing radiation, not as some exotic, scary threat, but as a constant, normal feature of our natural world, something that our bodies have lived and evolved with since the dawn of time. So the next time you peel a banana or buckle up for a flight, you'll have a whole new way of thinking about it. And that leads me to one last thought. If we can have such a big misunderstanding about something as fundamental as radiation, what other invisible forces that shape our world might be getting completely wrong? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining me on this one.